Hello and welcome to my channel, Bevvy with Beth. I'm Beth and here on this channel I talk about my life with PCOS, and this week we're looking at what I have been eating. As mentioned in my previous video, I haven't been taking care of myself and my PCOS very well in the recent years, and then getting into the last few months it's not been very good at all, really not eating well. I fully indulged in the Christmas eating. I've just been eating whatever the heck I felt like at the time, which of course means a exponential increase in sugar in my diet, because that's all that my body wants to eat, even though it makes me really sick. So this week I was looking at trying to reduce that back down, and one of my main themes for the week was to be gentle, and the way in which I cut back, reintroduced things, that sort of thing. I wanted it to be as smooth. I didn't want it to feel restrictive or regimented in any way. The problem I had is that I didn't really put in a plan, like a clear, structured plan for that, partly because I was trying to make it gentle, but I can't just go with what I feel like. As much as I 100% think we should be intuitively eating in a general sense, I can't intuitively eat into a healthy diet. There has to be some form of structure, plan, tracking of progress, that kind of thing, to keep me motivated and keep me going. So I knew that this week the one thing I did want to do was improve my breakfasts, because at the end of the day I do have to eat breakfast. I wake up hungry, so I'm always going to have breakfast. And it's the one thing that I had been doing really well right up until December, was keeping my breakfasts high protein, high fat, and almost zero carb, like a really low in carbohydrates. So I knew that I wanted to get back to that. What I had started doing is adding extra things. So I'd have what I would normally eat, which is bacon and eggs for breakfast. That is typically what I have. I've had the fanciest versions where I've got avocado and had almost like an omelette with other low sugar vegetables, adding different toppings on. Like, I had a period of time where I would always add hemp seeds to it to increase that omega-3 intake. I've also always put a bit of parsley on there because that really helps with digestion. And then I've had it stripped right back to, literally just bacon and egg. I started by increasing the carbohydrates when I was, not focusing on having the healthiest diet. I ended up getting some sourdough, and there is nothing I love better than having sourdough toast smothered in butter with scrambled eggs. One of my favorite breakfasts that I used to have like many years ago, when I wasn't putting on a shit ton of weight and I wasn't diagnosed with anything, is blueberry muffins. I love a blueberry muffin in the morning. It's the best thing. So then now I was having bread with eggs and bacon and then a blueberry muffin. So I went from having a high protein, high fat, practically zero carb breakfast to having quite a heavy carb breakfast. Of course, what this does is create a vicious cycle, which I've spoken about before on my channel, with the insulin resistance, where I'm having sugar in the morning. This creates a crash, which creates a craving, like a stronger craving for sugar throughout the day. That was my main focus, but I didn't do great. It's one of those things, isn't it, where I wanted it to be gentle. One of the things I had was leftovers. So I had blueberry muffins in my house, and there's no way that I'm not going to eat it if it's there. But then also, I'm the only one that can eat it because it's my food. So I also don't want to be throwing that away just because I've decided to change my diet at this time of year. I should have planned it better so that my last blueberry muffin was eaten before the 1st of January. That would have been the ideal, but that wasn't the circumstances that I was existing in at the time. So I had a blueberry muffin. That kind of like extended the high sugar mornings. Again, just hadn't set myself up for success the way I could have, knowing what my goal had been. I could have planned that better for this first week to be more successful. On the other hand, What that meant was there was a gradual decrease of sugar and increase of fat and protein. I feel like this week has set the trajectory for what it will be by the end of the month. So I want to kind of like revisit this again in February. I want to see if I can, you know, keep this trajectory going and build on that. I do feel like I've got my breakfast back in order, because although it didn't start well, I have now transitioned back into having just bacon and eggs for breakfast with my coffee. Dinner, for a start, isn't something that I'm really going to look at. Lunches are kind of the next thing that I'd want to tackle. That might be my big focus in February. I'm kind of eating quick and easy things, warm things, because it is colder in January than it has been in December. So I've got like the soups that I'm eating, and I do roasted chicken with a packet of rice, and so these are not things that I want to continue eating. There's just going to be too much going on in January for me to take away these quick and easy, at least fairly balanced and satisfying meals in this time. I didn't do as well as I wanted to in this week, but I have made progress. The problem I have been having is that that was quite a big reduction in calories, of course, and so I do find that I am then looking for some sort of snack or sustenance before lunch in that kind of like mid-morning time. So at the moment what I've been using is the Graze like little oat bars. They're a good sized portion. The chocolate ones that I get are not too high in sugar, like they're not what I would recommend as a as a low sugar, high protein snack to get you through the day, but they're, you know, not the most horrendous thing, and they go really well with a cup of coffee. Just about tides me over until I get to the lunchtime, and then I'm again snacking on whatever I can find before dinner. So that's the next thing is sorting out lunch, making that a much more healthier, balanced, lower in carb meal, and then the next thing will be tackling those snacks. There's definitely a lot more progress to be made, but I have made some progress, and I'm going to use that progress to give me momentum to keep going. And then I think the biggest lesson has been about making more of a plan. I think there's a balance to be had. As I said, I don't want it to be restrictive or feel too regimented where it becomes then uncomfortable and I want to push against it, but at the same time, without having had any plan, it wasn't possible for me to make the progress that I had been wanting. So those are the kind of lessons I've taken away from this. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next week.